What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We're getting ready to hop into our next series. It is going to be PiLiPiLi following up off of his last victory and now facing off versus MaSa, who is following up after his victory versus the one and only True. Very, very sick. Okay, getting the players ready, asking if they're ready to get going. Show you guys a little bit info about the players. Okay, players are ready. We're hopping into Ascension to Ire. It's going to be a pretty awesome match as we get this game underway. MaSa, I think very, very reputable, probably arguably the best Terran in North America. The only person who's maybe in contention is Semper. These guys have played each other, I'm sure, a few times as they're both North American players. Seems like PiLiPiLi was able to take the last series before that. All these games are from 2016, though, so they haven't played each other for at least 6 or 7 months. Interested to see where things are going to go on Ascension to Ire. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, here we are spawning into game number 1 between these two players. Spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, the red Terran player from Team Elevate. Give it up for MaSa. Looking for revenge for his fallen teammate against his opponent. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, having just come off a PvP victory versus Bales. Give it up for Storm Gaming's PiLiPiLi. And the winner of this match, this is not a qualifying match, but the winner of this match will go on to a qualifying match. So there's very, very much a lot on the line here. They are both so close to qualifying for that event whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce. J-O something. There's a P-I-N-G in there. I'm an American and I'm not good at pronouncing European names. For a very, very long time, I was still saying Katowice instead of Katowice. So yeah, let's just not embarrass myself. Either way, though, Protoss versus Terran, I was talking about how PiLiPiLi and a lot of players, even I think a lot of Terran players, not feeling great versus Zerg. So I'm sure both of these guys are somewhat relieved to play versus a not Zerg player. Factory is going to be coming out pretty quickly over here for MaSa. It looks like he wants to go for that kind of typical 1-1-1 quick opening, getting out the starport. We'll see if he ends up making a couple of Widow Mines early on. If he goes for a drop play, he's going to go into Fast and Liberator. With MaSa, you never really quite know. MaSa is one of those players that I think always is at his best when he's getting in his opponent's face and throwing them off their game. And PiLiPiLi, I feel like, is also kind of similar. He's a player that I think does often best when he's able to get a little bit aggressive. Even if it's not all-in aggression, it's just some form of aggression. And ooh, SCV comes in over here, scouts out the Stargate. That's going to be a really nice scout. Adept should be able to two-shot him, though, since it already taken some damage to an SCV, or to a probe, being aggressive. Stargate, it's good to scout out. You know where to position your Marines. You know that you got to leave your Widow Mine at home if you were planning on going for some kind of fast Widow Mine drop. And it also allows you to build that kind of safety cyclone, but it's not the end of the world for PiLiPiLi. The important thing is keep that Oracle alive. Do not let it die, because throwing down the Revelations, keeping an eye on your opponent's medevacs and where they are, can be an invaluable resource in a Protoss versus Terran, especially on a map like this, where your third expansion oftentimes will either feel very far away by ground but close by air, or just very far away in general. I mean, this kind of edge over here where you have to move up and around to get over to your third, whereas the air medevacs will just drop between these two locations, can be very annoying to deal with. But we do have first medevac moving out across the map. 8 Marines loaded up. MaSa is undeterred by the fact that he knows an Oracle is going to be coming out. He's already got the Cyclone, the Mineral Line, and ooh, even foregoing the missile turrets since he skipped the Engineering Bay. Very interesting. He feels like the Cyclone is just going to be enough on its own. Cyclones really don't do that much damage anti-air-wise, though, so I'm curious if this is really going to end up working out for him. An Oracle can take on a Cyclone with full as long as it has full shields. Medevac getting pushed back. Oh, looks like that Mothership Core does not have enough energy to Photon Overcharge. Came out very, very late. Only has 1 Photon Overcharge thrown down. Second one gonna go up unimpeded. Oh man, the pylon could end up falling. That would depower 3 of these gateways. He immediately tries to throw up a second pylon, but that first pylon's gonna get focus fire down. The Mothership Core is trying to buy some time. Zealot and Adept go down. More pylons going up. Another round of Warpins is going to be coming up. And PiLiPiLi has 3 of his gateways depowered. And now, finally, another Mothership Core Photon Overcharge is thrown out. The pylons finally get up, powering 1 of the gateways, and even finally getting up that Stargate again to get out some more Phoenix. But what a massive amount of frustration PiLiPiLi must be feeling after that initial series of engagements. Charge is now finished up. And the medevac is going to get chased down by the Phoenix now. Unloading these Marines should be able to force back the Phoenix. I think PiLiPiLi may even be able to go for it. I think you may have been able to get that. Either way, though, we have a proxy gateway. And this brings them up to a total of, what, 7 warp gates? That's more than enough to do a big all-in off of. That 1 Phoenix also going to be providing high ground vision alongside the Oracle that can throw down some revelations. MaSa has a big wall in over here. It's primarily a melee-based army. Taking out the SCVs, building the supply depots actually is a really big deal because it'll allow him to get entry in. You can't repair a building that is still in the process of being built. Bunker is going to try and be dodged. The Cyclone does get lifted by the Oracle, but not for very much longer. Stasis Trap being thrown down, and it does look like that Viking gets the final kill on the Oracle before the Stasis Trap finishes. I think that could have even backfired with the SCVs just acting as a giant wall that would prevent the Zealots from getting on top of things. But all these Marines are going down. PiLiPiLi taking advantage of that charge above. Oh no, the F repair! He was so close to killing the bunker, and now he's not going to be able to get it anymore. He's up in workers, but is it by enough? He's up against a Terran player. They have mules. He needs to be up more than just 2 or 3 workers. His opponent has medevacs out. His opponent has tech out, and PiLiPiLi does not have tech. He has a Twilight Council. He has a Stargate. That's all well and good. Oh god, the Widow Mine's shot is absolutely phenomenally good, but more Zealots come charging on in. He's going to take down the bunker this time. SCV is being pulled off the line once again. And now I feel like PiLiPiLi is doing the damage he needs to get done. Now up about 15 or so workers, and even killing off a couple final Marines before everything finally goes down. PiLiPiLi's got more Zealots warped in, though. He's not seizing the aggression. Oracle now also coming out. MaSa's economy definitely hurting right now. It's not in tatters quite yet, but it's certainly going to be reduced, and that means that those reinforcing waves are going to be coming out maybe a little bit slower. Bunker gets taken out once again before it really gets a chance to do much. Zealots with charge once again, obliterating these Marines, but the medevacs are going to go unimpeded. They are not going to be dying anytime soon, and these Zealots are starting to derp a little bit. They're not taking as good of a trade as they were before. Sure, a couple of Marines died once again, but these Widow Mines are also going to go uncontested. 3 Widow Mines now out. Looks like some of them are going to actually be picked up into the medevac. No, it looks like MaSa's just going to walk across the map with them. He's going to find these Zealots and pick up immediately and retreat back. Honestly, if MaSa just decided to get aggressive, I feel like he has enough back at home now. He should be able to defend 2 Widow Mines, a completed bunker, and a growing medevac count that is just never going to get knocked back down because PiLiPiLi does not have any way to kill them. Besides, I guess, the 1 Phoenix that he's now made and a 2nd Phoenix on the way. MaSa can get some counter damage done. Maybe even think about throwing down a 3rd orbital command, because what is really going to happen over here? I guess there is a fear of a warp prism coming in. That's one thing MaSa really has to be careful of. A warp prism would be absolutely deadly to MaSa. Just dropping some Zealots in over here, getting on top of production, taking out some of these reactors, the tech labs. at a little bit further out. But PiLiPiLi is not going for any of that just yet. He's got a robo on the way, but it's a much, much later robo. Looks like that drop did find an opportunity once again, but there are 3 pylons powering those gateways this time. Warp gate, or sorry, the medevac does get taken out, and Marines suffer the same fate. 2 more medevacs coming out, this time with 3 Widow Mines in the mix. There's not a lot of detection besides that 1 Oracle that got taken out earlier on. Robotic facility is now finished up, and the Observer is on the way, but these Widow Mines are here to stay for a good bit longer. Ooh, doing some friendly fire damage, though. Not the greatest hits for MaSa. 3 kills, but loses a decent chunk of his Marines. Takes a lot of damage on those medevacs. And those these Widow Mines' lives are forfeit, as the Observer is now popped out. 3rd expansion gets canceled, though. MaSa getting a 3rd of his own back at home, but also still very far away from finishing up. And that was a lot of Widow Mines for MaSa to lose. If he had been able to keep those alive, if he had been able to back out of there after identifying, okay, yeah, it's looking a little bit scary. Oh, okay, hold on, this is a lot of damage to do. PiLiPiLi reduced down to 33 workers. Doesn't have a lot of ways to chase after this medevac. Archon's the only real anti-air. And at the same time, damage be happening in the main base. Focus firing down some of these Phoenix. 2 of the Phoenix end up falling, and more of the workers. GG gets called. MaSa takes game number 1. A bit of a back and forth. Crazy game. Oh boy. Bit of madness. PiLiPiLi looked like he was in a really good spot. Looked like he was in a game-winning spot off of that big 7-gate Zealot all in, but his 3rd expansion just wasn't going to be coming down anytime soon, and ultimately he couldn't follow things up. Abyssal Reef. Ooh, return to Abyssal Reef. Gonna be game number 2's map. Let's get that set up. Not make the players wait around. Invite PiLi. Invite MaSa. And type in ready in the chat with a question mark. Cool, we are good to go. So again, talking about these guys, I really still feel like this game or the series could go either way. PiLiPiLi got into an advantageous position, but MaSa eventually just started taking better and better trades and was eventually be able to hold off the aggression and eventually put on his own counter aggression that ended the game. We'll see if we can make it happen a second time though, as Abyssal Reef, bit of a different map. Definitely has some really cool features in terms of like the 3rd expansion, 4th expansion, 5th expansion, all relatively easy to take, but very droppable map. Map that has some really, really nice opportunities for a Terran player or a Protoss player to get aggressive. But see you guys on Abyssal Reef. Let me actually make sure I load up the right map intro. Yeah, Abyssal Reef. And so we hop into game number 2, starting down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. The red Protoss player from Storm Gaming gave it up for PiLiPiLi, fighting for his tournament life, so close to qualifying. And up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Terran player from Team Elevate, setting up 1-0 and 1 game away from moving on to a qualifying match. Give it up for MaSa. And this will be both of their final matches of the day, I believe, as long as I understood the admins correctly, since the next match is a qualifying match, as far as I'm aware. we're going all the way up into one match before the qualifying match. And then we're stopping. And the rest will be played out tomorrow for day 2. But okay, PiLiPiLi, what is his plan here? Last game he went for a 7-gate charge lot all in. Definitely taking advantage of that charge buff that Protoss got fairly recently, but... Oh my god, PiLiPiLi just got really supply blocked. I guess the Nexus is going to finish up and open up some supply, but I don't think he was supposed to be supply blocked for this long. I don't think anyways. I'm a Protoss player. I should know this, but yeah, I feel like he got supply blocked for longer than he expected to. There was a missed pylon. Potentially. Either way, though, hopefully he's not feeling a little bit too tilted. I know he came into today saying he had very low expectations for himself. He wasn't feeling like he was in great form right now. And maybe it has to do with the map pool. Maybe it's just a personal thing. But either way, I still think he has a very good chance versus MaSa. He's just got to hold out. A lot of people say that MaSa's weakness is if you bring him to the super duper late stage of the game. I don't know if I always 100% agree with that. I think MaSa's late game can be pretty damn scary if it's a scrappy game. I feel like if it's a straight up, both players are sitting back, very defensively, macro oriented game, that's where MaSa I don't think is quite as strong. If it's a scrappy, everybody's just slinging mud at each other, back and forth, low worker counts, that's where I feel like MaSa is actually feeling really good about the later stages of the game. But okay, Medevac gonna be coming out with some Widow Mines. Looks like we're gonna have just enough Marines and the Widow Mine out to go for a 6 Marine Widow Mine drop. Oh, looks like that was SCV? Yeah, just SCV. Reaper almost gets a worker kill. PiLiPiLi able to barely keep it alive with a couple of Adepts, but Adepts do not do too well versus Medevacs. And that Reaper is going to be able to escape out of there well and alive. One Widow Mine even situated over here. Hasn't fired its shot yet. Has PiLiPiLi noticed it? He might have noticed it with those Adepts if he was really paying attention, if he got too close. And it looks like MaSa is this a fake out? Did he walk that Widow Mine all the way across the map to sit over by the 3rd to try and cancel it if PiLiPiLi tried to go for it? PiLiPiLi has only 3 gateways, so this isn't a crazy committed all-in. He's getting his 3rd gas geyser now. He's going to look to try and get some damage done, but he's going to find that there's no 3rd expansion taken just yet. He can shade in over here, though. There's no wall in, and there's barely anything over here for MaSa. MaSa picked up the Widow Mine. He's going to try and go into the main base at the same time the Reaper moves in. Both of these guys going to get aggressive at the same time, and PiLiPiLi cancels. He doesn't know where the Widow Mines are. He realizes that there's one Widow Mine trying to get aggressive. Kills off 3 workers. Puts an overcharge. Gets a kill. Pylon has a kill on that Reaper. And now his Siege Tank is out. PiLiPiLi gonna have a much harder time getting damage done. Siege Tank number 1, Siege Tank number 2 shot. Siege Tank shot number 3. Adept shade in, and the Widow Mine does some friendly fire damage, but mostly kills the Adept and knocks him out of the ground and brings him back up into the sky as 3 Adepts are picked up the last second for PiLiPiLi. Gonna start to regenerate some of those shields, but the Viking is gonna put a timer on this Warp Prism. Seems like another Warpin will finish, though, in time. PiLiPiLi just going to try and take the best trades that he can. Even actually stopping a lot of mining right now. These SCVs, none of them mining. The Adepts continue to shade around. It looks like the nice lift up from MaSa prevents the Adepts from shading down over to the natural expansion. And we'll see how much damage was really done over there at the end of the day. PiLiPiLi sacrificed a lot of Adepts, but was it worth it? Well, there's a lot of spikes back and forth with the Widow Mine pulling a lot of PiLiPiLi's probes. Now, finally, I'm sure MaSa is just throwing down all those mules and everything. There's a couple of the fresh mules around. Missile turtles are going up, it looks like. But overall, things are going to stabilize at I would say, a bit of an advantage for MaSa just because it's an even worker counts, but MaSa also has those mules. He has lost a few Marines, but he's kept alive some of those Widow Mines. This is a lot of Adepts, though. MaSa's re-walled off most of this, but there is a gap. A very, very important gap. Siege Tank's unsieged as well. Oh, he knows it. Immediately picking up both of the Siege Tanks. puts him down on the other side of the wall, and what an awesome and brilliant play at the same time. It looks like PiLiPiLi losing a couple of workers over here to some Widowmine harassment, but man, MaSa just lost so many workers. Was it worth it? The question on everybody's mind. He drops some more of these guys inside the main base. Another Warp Prism escapes out of there. Gotta keep control of that. He's gotta run that away, but the Adepts are still getting more damage done. Still killing off a couple more of these Marines. The workers managed to make it out alive, but only 25 of them. Half of the workers have been killed off. Now one Widowmine secures himself 3 more kills, up to 9 kills now. That Observer and the Mothership Core so close to killing it. Throws down the Photonic Charge and finally cleans us up. PiLiPiLi lost a lot of Adepts. He's trading out his army in exchange for workers, and he's trading out versus some of the army of MaSa. But he has to be careful. He's only got now 12 Adepts. So it was up to 7 a second ago, but it warps in a few more. And this could very easily turn on its head. This could very easily turn into a game where MaSa puts some counter damage on, like a doubled medevac drop, and catches PiLiPiLi off guard. Another Warp Prism has been made. It's on the other side of the map, though. It's still rallying in. And speaking of rallying in, MaSa is about to be rallying in. Couple of pylons available. Photon Overcharge needs to be used immediately. Doesn't use it! Oh my god, he loses the Mothership Core. And now he's going to be completely defenseless. He has to use his entire Warpin back at home, but he loses 15 workers in the 2 to 3 seconds that he's not there. And now he's waiting to try an elevator up into the main base, but he just GG's out, taps out. MaSa is going to take the series 2-0. Moving on to the qualifying match. Holy cow, a moment that decides the series, a moment that decides a good chunk of money as well that was on the line, as WCS Challenger does not play around with a small chump change, plays around at least hundreds of dollars. Let's see, I believe that, I'm going to double check this right now, but let's see, that would put, that's top 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the difference between top 6 and top 8. Actually, no, it's the exact same amount of money. Interesting. And WCS points. Okay. So 5th through 8th actually gets the exact same amount. Very interesting. But that means MaSa, I believe, as far as I'm aware, as long as I haven't misinterpreted the admin, is done for the day. He's made it to the qualifying match. Is going to be just waiting to see who he faces off against. It's going to be probably the loser of, if I'm reading the bracket correctly, Scarlet versus Semper, but I may be reading that wrong. Yeah, it will be the loser of Scarlet versus Semper. Looks like Neeb was able to 3-0 Jon Snow, moves on to the winners finals. So he has qualified himself for the event. He's gonna have free flight and of course hotel and travel and all that good stuff paid for to the event, as he has now made it into the top 4. Semper is playing off versus Scarlet, probably happening on the mainstream as we speak. We're gonna take a short break as we try and figure out what is happening. It looks like Drunken Boy, yeah, Scarlet's playing versus Semper, so Semper was able to take the 3-2 versus Drunken Boy, and Drunken Boy is now playing off versus Silky. We're gonna see if we can hop into that, or if what's going on with that. I think that Wardy may actually be casting that series already. So we may be on an elongated break. In fact, I might even just sync up with Wardy and see if he wants to take the rest of the stuff, or if I should take the rest of the stuff. But you guys are watching WCS NA Challenger 1. Thank you all so much for tuning in so far. Please don't go anywhere. We will be back as soon as possible with more WCS NA